You can't shift what you don't own. We're going to talk about number 8, the 8th key of empowered communication, which is know your weaknesses. And so this really is about understanding yourself. And we did talk about the importance of self-validation, which is key number 9, which I also call being your own witness. And so again, this is tied to that same sense of self-reflection. So this is about knowing what your shortcomings are, and then being able to either alert people to those shortcomings to help minimize them, or being able to find ways to offset them. So the best way for me to help you understand what I'm talking about here are to share some. So I actually talked to my buddy ChatGPT, and so we were brainstorming some examples. So, and I had to laugh because I do a bunch of these. Info dumping, your resting serious face, aka resting bitch face, monotone voice, over talking, withholding, over apologizing, poor eye contact, defaulting to humor or deflection, speaking indirectly, or getting defensive. So those are just some examples. So I'm going to give you some examples of ways that I've personally dealt with some of my weaknesses. And some of them are more successful than others. But again, some of this is just understanding that these things are impacting your communications. So if you want to improve your communications, obviously you need to know the areas that you fall short. Okay, so I'm apparently going to start with one that I hadn't planned on talking about. And this is that because of how my brain works, if you tell me something, if you're giving me constructive feedback, the first thing that I am likely to do is to reiterate to you how I currently do whatever thing you're trying to correct. And I did not realize for years that when I do that, that to the other person, it feels like I am negating what they're saying and saying that I'm doing it okay. Because what I'm actually trying to do is to say, this is how I'm doing it, poke the holes in how I'm doing it, because if there's something wrong with this, I'm not seeing what it is. And I didn't find this out until, and again, this has probably been 15 years ago, that I got a performance review at work. I was working for a boss at the time, and one of my favorite bosses that I worked with. Very human, so not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but very consistent. And there was a number of things that I really liked about working for him. One of the things that I liked was on day 1, he said, I just want you to know, in every single performance review you get from me, you will always have at least one area of improvement. And I loved that because it managed my expectations to not feel like I was bad or there was something wrong with me, because there was an area of improvement, right? So I appreciated that about him. So we're meeting there, we're having my performance review, and he says to me that I don't take feedback well. And I said, really? Because from him, I do take feedback really well. I implemented a number of things that he had said. And he said, yeah. And he explained to me why he felt that way. And I said, oh, that's fascinating, because when I'm reiterating it to you, what I'm actually doing is saying, this is how I currently do it. Help me to understand what is not working in this. And he was like, oh. And so then I gave him some examples of where I had actually implemented his feedback, and he was unaware of it. And so he was like, oh, and so it ended up being a different conversation than what he thought, but it also gave me some really valid information, which is that I need to be aware that I do that. So if somebody gives me feedback and I catch myself doing that, I tell them, by the way, this is not me saying to you that I disagree with you. This is me saying, this is how I do it. Help me understand what's not working. So now I know to articulate it, right? So that is me minimizing my own weakness. Okay, so that's one example. So another example is, apparently when I'm listening to someone, if I'm confused or don't fully understand what they're saying, my face gets very severe. And I'm laughing as I say this because At one job that I had, my boss literally texted me in the middle of the meeting and was like, "You need to soften your expression. You are looking at the person who is speaking as though they are a complete and utter moron." And of course, that was not my intention. I just didn't understand what they were saying. It did not make sense to me, and it was because they hadn't finished giving me the information yet. And I didn't agree with them, but that wasn't why I was looking at them like that. I just was looking at them because what they were saying didn't make sense to me. And so anyway, so this is something that I've come to know about myself. And so when I notice that someone is looking a little hesitant around me, I'll ask them, I'll say, "Oh no, am I doing my serious face again?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, you are." I was like, "I'm so sorry. I promise my resting bitch face is just a little bit severe, but I swear to you, I'm fully engaged. This is just what my face does. If it gets to be too much, tell me and I'll try and put a smile on for you." But it's something that we can then laugh over, and it softens that moment. So again, being aware. And then the final one that I'll share with you is that I know that because I'm autistic, the more overstimulated I get, the more I tend to info dump. And so when I was in the hospital, it was horrible. I could not stop info dumping to save my life, and they were all so sweet with me. But again, when you're aware of it, you can tell people, "I am so sorry. I'm aware that I'm info dumping. If it gets to be too much, like, give me a timeout. I know that I do this." Like, again, when you can laugh about it and not take it personally, because then if somebody says, "Are you info dumping?" you go, "Actually, there really is a purpose in this," and so it allows you, anything that allows you to have that connection point is helpful for empowering your communications. And so again, this is why knowing your weaknesses is so vital, because then it allows you to soften them and create the connection even around those quirks. And it also makes you aware of being alert to what other people's quirks are, so you can choose not to take offense because you realize, "Oh, that's just a personality quirk. I don't have to take offense at that." So anyway, hopefully that helps somebody today. So what are your weaknesses, right? Think about that for a moment, and feel free to share it. You don't have to, but I'm always interested to hear. Anyway, blessings to you, and have an amazing day.